What's up, everyone? We've got another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. Today, we've got two amazing guests. So, we've got Jimothy, as usual, to bring the noise. And on top of that, who else have we got? Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, hi, I'm Abyss, or Jamie. I just run a Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitter account. I play bad decks, I do art, and I kind of hyper-obsess with the game to a point where I can talk about any facet of it other than famous people that have played the game. Other than that, we're good.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for coming on, Jamie. And yeah, I think one of the things is, in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's loads of pro players, there's loads of like content creators who are like really into kind of the playing side of the game, but I think it's really interesting that there's another side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like there's another aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's really cool. And I think someone who's like an art creator in the space, I think it's such a unique kind of I think job is, I can call you a professional, right? I'm not jumping the gun by calling you professional. I feel like being
I mean, I've had enough people pay me for
yeah,
be like, yeah, sure, I'll take professional.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's like being a professional in that space, I think is really, really cool. And I'll say as well, like, as someone who is very appreciative of the art in Yu-Gi-Oh! And very appreciative of Yu-Gi-Oh! Based art as well, I think, yeah, it's a cool space to be in. So if you don't mind, Jamie, do you mind giving us a bit of an introduction into kind of how you started on this journey, what it's been like, what doing that as like a job, as a professional thing is like?
Okay, so I've always liked art, just as a thing. I think it actually started with my older sibling. They got into art way before I did, and you know, as the middle sibling, I ended up following them because I looked up to them. I doodled. I remember the first drawing I was proud of. It is not good. I probably have it in a box somewhere, but as that developed over time, I really got into like science fiction and steampunk and stuff like that, just art-wise. And eventually, I got into high school where I was attempting to pursue animation, but as some of the classes went, I ended up not really clicking with it as much as I initially wanted to. I didn't feel like I was getting taught properly. So really what ended up sticking with me from that part of my artistic journey was the story writing part. So I actually have on the back burner like a comic I've been soft writing for like 5 years, which I'm really excited about like actually making. I'm feeling like after I move not long from now and I finish my commission queue, I can finally get into that. On the Yu-Gi-Oh! Side of things, where do I even begin? I had my pile of fake cards in elementary school that everyone had.
Yeah.
You got into middle school, and I had a singular structure deck that I was playing no sleeves on concrete before class started.
To be young again.
Yeah, right? I ended up, like, using this horrible ancient gear from, like, that 3 structure deck Machine Madness thing that came out. Someone was like, hey, you have number cards, because I pulled like 2 packs when I was a kid, and I had like an Atlantis and an Honor Arc and something else. And they're like, I want those. I'll give you my Lightsworn deck core if you beat me, and you have to give me like your numbers if you don't. I'm like, I don't want to lose my number cards, because as a kid, I thought those were really cool, and I now have a full collection of them in the highest rarity because I hyper-obsessed. Point being, I ended up beating that person, getting a Lightsworn deck, which is competent, and we just went on from there until after high school when I finally got back into the game after I moved in with a roommate that had previously played the game. That's where it got back in, and I, of all places, came back in toss format, and my first deck at a locals was Battle and Boxers. Horribly lost.
Wow. What the?
Yeah, yeah, I think I played against Stun, Shadal, and Invoked that week. It was awful. I got
in
completely
toss
rolled.
format. That's wild.
It was right before toss format because it was after that shortly that I had some other deck that was slightly more competent. No, I wasn't more competent. I was playing Ojama PC Arm Dragons after that.
Gosh.
That deck is still not good.
These are the most base deck choices I've ever heard.
I'm so glad you think so, because I got way too many to go off of in that regard. I don't think I've played a normal deck in my life other than the Dino Smasher structure deck. You know, like that's
Wow.
about it.
Gosh, yeah.
That is
Normally,
good.
when people are like, "Oh, I play road decks and stuff," you're like, "What do you play?" "Oh, I play heroes." "Oh, yeah, sure, mate." It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but hearing a Jarvis and that in the same sentence is okay. Yeah, you're up there. I like it.
Yeah.
You're
I like it. I love it.
Yeah.
So what's the allure to like some of those like quote unquote rogue deck choices?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for me, I've always really enjoyed lapping Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's just one of those things that it keeps my mind busy in such a way. And as I've brought in my expanses with like the card pool and how to deck build, and since I've built so many decks, I feel like I've gotten really competent at it. It's this thing where those decks are unexplored. If you look at a meta deck, or even like a bunch of rogue decks nowadays, they're solved because of how many eyes are on them, and people like know exactly how to build them. If I pick up UA, or like Formula Athletes, or like Utopia, or something no one's playing right now,
Oh my gosh,
that deck is
I'm
not
so sorry,
solved
but
for this format.
Formula Athletes, is that what it stands for?
Yeah, FA is Formula
I had
Athletes.
no
UA is
idea
Ultimate
what the
Athletes.
heck. Alright, sorry. Wow.
No,
yeah,
it's
sorry,
fine.
Carry on. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know what ZS stands for in the Utopia archetype. I know Zexal Weapon is ZW, but, you know, there's still abbreviations I don't know.
Oh,
so
that
it's
one.
fine.
I know that one. That one is Zexal Sage. I actually know that
Zexal
one.
Sage.
Yes.
Okay, you see, I'm learning.
Yeah, I'm derailed. Sorry, carry on.
But the
My head's
thing
blown, man.
The thing I particularly like is being able to take those parts of a deck, read all the cards, and being able to assemble it into something that would be seen as competent today. Like being able to walk into locals with a different deck every single week and perform like 2-2 or 3-1 as average. I feel pretty good about that, especially with my pretty competitive locals, all things considered. Like, we got at least 3 Kashtira players. We got a significant amount of like branded players. Like, you know, it's the usual menagerie right now, and that's fine. I've never had an issue with that. It's weird because in the last year, I found myself facing down stun and being like, okay, we're doing this. I don't find myself going, oh my god, we're about to do this, and I think it's just come with the territory of me intentionally building things that I already know are at a disadvantage, where I've had to foresee the worst things humanly possible, and having 4 back row flipped on me usually isn't the worst thing possible. I don't know. It's solving something unsolved that tends to do it for me. And when I do that so fast most of the time, it's like I can't stick with one deck for weeks on end either, because it's just this thing where, okay, this deck is as solved as I can get it. I do some tweaks after a locals. We'll come back to you like 3 months from now in the next format. You know, like that's how I feel about it anyway. I mean, especially with there being so many decks that are actually tuned for formats, like it's weird, but saying it again, UA is not bad this format as a rogue deck, because Kashtira, what do? Oh, my stuff gets banished. That doesn't kill me. Okay, what else do? They summon a thing, and if it's still on the board and it didn't get to resolve its effect, I basically win if they don't have exactly birth. But I have an Omni Negate 2. Like, Blockbacker will just change the battle position of that thing they special summoned, so it's just negated. They can't attack with it. It's like, it's not bad. It's genuinely not bad. And it being able to, like, flex for a second. Whatever, I'm going off the rails now. But you get, like, the line of thought process I have here.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that is insane, because I know a lot of people, like they talk about like being rogue players and stuff. But I think that is definitely something that's part of the appeal of a rogue player, right? Like 100%. Looking at something, and I mean, you guys play more like you guys play more decks than I do, because famously I'm a bit of a one trick.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. Like Andre, for example, like I know one of the things that I found when I started on your channel was you were doing a lot of sort of rogue decks in a time where when hasn't the meta really been solved in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But it is always really interesting to look at rogue decks and just be like, oh my god, this doesn't suck. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, especially if you play a lot of rogue, and I found this myself, you understand the mechanics of the game a lot better because there's some rogue cards out there that just got a million lines of text and don't necessarily do something game breaking, but it's very, very unique, and it causes these weird interactions that you kind of just need to know about, or you could just lose the game. Do you know what I mean? And I think
100%.
that's one of the reasons why I always kind of like look towards more rogue decks just for that feature, just because it's something that I might not have come across previously, and it's a new way to play the game, basically.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I've played a rogue deck at locals, one of my favorite things about it isn't like when I do well with it. It's my opponent reading my card and going, I just lost the game to this.
Yeah.
There's a certain, I don't know. There's a certain je ne sais quoi about that to me.
It's a nice feeling. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
It's a so yeah. Again, like I would say that it's funny though. In my Yu-Gi-Oh experience, I've changed a lot because I used to be heavily rogue player. Now I'd say I'm quite a meta player, and I definitely enjoyed the game a lot more when I played rogue. I remember the exact memory in my head, for example, was I remember the first time I brought Ignista to locals, and this wasn't when like the brief moment of fame Ignista. This was, I think, I don't know, back in like Lyrillus format, and I was playing Ignistas, and it's exactly like you say. It's like I would go into a tournament, and it's like everyone's like, what the heck does these cards do? Why is there there's this card that can't be affected by anything? And it was just it was a good feeling, you don't know what my cards do, and it's also fun because one of the things that I find about a lot of meta decks is that I find them kind of boring and samey sometimes. Yeah, it's like I look at a deck like Sprite, and for me, it's just really, really boring. Like, it's very, very good at what it does, but it's boring. And then I look at a deck like Ignista that plays so uniquely around the field spell. I look at a deck like Dark Lords is one of my all-time favorite decks, and it's like, even the way that deck plays really cool, plays really interestingly. Recently, as these guys know, even though this one is less of a rogue deck, but I think I can call it a rogue deck right now. The deck that seems to be best deck, Rescue Ace. The way that deck looks and plays, the way that deck looks and plays, everything about it, I love it. It's so cool. And
I got third with that before the support. I'm so excited for the support.
wow.
Let me tell you.
Look, when the support comes out, when the support comes out, it's gonna be the best deck. We just all have to accept it. Yeah, but for now, I'm ready for it. But yeah, definitely, it's a really awesome feeling to be able to play some of those decks sometimes. Yeah,
sorry for interrupting. I just got excited hearing Rescue Ace.
Yeah, I've been talking about Rescue Ace for about half a year now.
yeah. Like in our group chat, like where we discuss podcast stuff, it's like Fabz and like a couple of the hosts arguing about if Rescue Ace is good or not, and Fabz is just putting all of he's putting all of his chips on this deck, man, and it does look pretty dope. I can't lie, but
it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Going back to the art stuff a little bit, so how did it come to the sort of overlay between Yu-Gi-Oh and like art stuff for you? Like, was there a specific archetype that you like took like the look of and like did a sketch of or something, or was it a case of like something different entirely?
So, actually, I can give a thanks to a specific Yu-Gi-Oh artist for getting me into drawing Yu-Gi-Oh art, because after I ended my school like situation, I was really downtrodden about art. And then because I quit my class before the end of the year because it was just not working out for me. They were kind of overworking me and not treating me the way I wish I was in a class. Like, I wish I was learning. But I moved to a 3D arts class. I did drawing there and stuff. I still have the drawing I did in that class on my wall, like right above my laptop right now, because that made me feel good about art again. I fell like into this slump of not drawing for a while, but then like 2-3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, Kraus Arts said, okay, we're gonna do Yug Inc.O, where every day you draw like a new Yu-Gi-Oh thing for like October. I just participated in that because I was like, oh, why not? It'd be fun. I did the whole thing. I like burned through like 5 drawings in one night just because I was feeling it. For some reason it just like got that passion for art back in me, like drawing something I enjoyed. And like I will say that has propelled me forward. Then I ended up getting like a laptop as a gift from my boyfriend, who is incredible. And now I've been making digital art using that and going off of that whole like moment of inspiration. Now, I think the first thing I ended up making was a zombie Stein, and then I made a really not great Numeron mat in my personal opinion. Now I ended up remaking that one down the line, and then we went on and on, like Aliens, number 5 Doom Chimera, whatever. Like I just drew a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff because it's just what made me happy. And we've kind of stumbled our way into a position where other people like that I did that.
Is there a loss in translation of how you go about your drawings from like a paper version to like the digital version? I've got a few friends that do digital art, and they say it's a lot different than sitting down with just like a couple of pencils and just doing a drawing, if you got what I mean.
I do. So there's definitely a few things there. One, you have to deal with having equipment, which is not fun, but I will say having to not continuously refill markers or paints or something like that, very nice. But from physical to digital, something I immediately notice is, oh, my mistakes are a lot more noticeable now because I can zoom in and like adjust them and stuff, and I can like easily erase. I can redraw all my lines. It just became this isn't a pad of paper where I'm moving my hand on it. This is a whole screen that I can zoom in on to get like minute details. So now it feels tedious, but a lot more arduous to get a piece looking the way you want it to, because those small details mean a lot more than they would on paper. That's going to be viewed at like this size versus digital art that can be blown up and zoomed in on, and it's like, oh, there's your small mistake. I can note that. So that's definitely there. Layers, immediately a huge help in like coloring things. I always enjoyed coloring things beforehand, but markers were unfixable. You'd have to go over it with white ink afterwards. There was always like blotching problems. You would make mistakes that you couldn't get rid of. So it's also a lot safer, which I really appreciate, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like one or the other for me. I still do some physical art. Like, it's mostly just sketches. I usually do sketches, and then if I like it enough, I bring it to the computer to finish it. Sometimes I'll just sketch on the computer, though, because I already have the idea locked in my mind. I mean, a lot of times I'll just scribble in a notebook some super basic poses that are, like, barely wireframes in, like, joints. And it's like, okay, this is perfect, taking a picture of it, dragging it onto my computer, blowing it up, and then lining on top of it, and here we are, here's my piece. Like, I think I actually have my sketchbook near me. I will try to find an example, but I definitely have made mats very, very briefly on here. Yeah, like, a while back, the Archfiend guy, I don't know if you guys are aware of him, but I was particularly into that deck for a long time. It's probably the one I've labbed the longest, despite playing 2,000 different decks. And I just like did a super like basic sketch of the guy, and I dragged it onto my computer, and it was like, okay, now we're doing the whole thing from this point. Like, I don't know. It's a thing where you get to mix medias in a way that I wouldn't expect, and being able to dodge mistakes is just nice. It's one of those things that I don't really think about that often because it's more normal to me now than it was before.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's something that I've definitely heard a lot of artists compare to. Like, they say the switch between going from like pen and paper to digital is just insane. But a question I did actually have for you, it's on a little bit of a different subject, but does kind of tie in. On the subject of like you being an artist, obviously, one of the big things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Against other card games is I don't believe they credit the artists on the card. I know in Magic they do. I'm not too sure about Pokemon. No, as far as I'm aware, the artists are credited in the books that they do because they do a concept art book every so often, where they put the drawings on Twitter occasionally and what have you, and I'm sure they're credited there. But like, as like an artist yourself, like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, would you like to see them credit artists on the card, or like, is it? I don't know.
I will say for sure I wish they did, because if you look at something like Magic, something I've dabbled in just a little bit, because you know it's another card game and it's got really nice art. Why wouldn't I at least try it? A lot of the artists that make the cards for Magic the Gathering are not like rich, constantly working artists. A lot of them are like job to job artists. And if I saw Konami like say, this is who drew the Archfiend cards, you do not understand the speed in which I would go to that person and say, hello, here is my entire wallet, please draw me a playmat, I love your art. So if I could support the artists that have given me cards that I absolutely love in this game, I would do that with haste. You know, it's like, it's less a thing about crediting the artist because they've been commissioned, they've accepted like the terms of not being like credited as the artist, and I can get behind it as it is the personal decision of each artist that is making those cards, allowing that to be the case. Personally, I would want to be credited if I ever made art, but I can get behind getting paid a decent chunk of change to not. You know, it's like, if I drew some cards for someone, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you don't need to credit me, just, that's a lot of money you're handing me because you're a corporation, thank you. But personally, I would love to be able to support those artists a lot. That's really, at the end of the day, the only thing I can think of, you know?
I would say from a selfish perspective as well, it would be nice just because, again, it's like, yeah, sometimes there's artwork I like, and if I knew, like, again, I'll go back to Dark Lords, like, I really like the Dark Lord artwork. If I wanted something commissioned, not in a room, but sometimes I look at people's artwork, I'm like, this is rubbish, and I look at this artwork, like, this is amazing. I want something commissioned, I have no idea who made that. So from a selfish perspective, I'd like it too. It'd be nice that I can just go, oh, this person made it, I'm gonna see if we can get something from them. And like you said, some of these artists, it's like, it's not their... They're like a day to day kind of worker. Like, it's not their main thing. So I can also probably get for a good price as well, talk to them and say, hey, I pay you a couple £100, do this artwork or something for my channel. Like,
yeah. As well as like supporting an artist who's made something that you love as well. I feel like it's that would have to be like a good thing to do as well for them, like giving something back.
100%.
Yeah. So, I am going to actually move into something a little bit different here. So, Fabz, you've already answered this question for me, but I'm going to put it to the rest of the group. Abyss, you made a tweet over the last few days. Do you want to break it down for us about the about the artwork thing?
Yeah. So I made a really offhanded tweet. It was just like, hey, I really like card art in my decks. Like, if I build something, it's obviously a commitment to build something, to learn it, to buy it. I want that deck to look good. So I ended up asking everyone, hey, what is your favorite visual aesthetic or art style or just art period in a deck that like draws you to it? Personally, as my example, I use Dark Worlds because I think they are like incredibly visually pleasing as like an H.R. Geiger knight demon with this really pretty nebulous purple background mixed with like their gray tone skin and like the lightning effect. It's a very simple but incredibly pleasing like background on top of the very complex and intricate art. It's a very cool deck when you can pick it up and say every single playable card in this deck looks awesome. So I have a lot of different decks that I feel that way about, but that was my example at the time.
So I'll put the question to everyone at the board. Like, what would your answer to that question be? Fabz, you've already started us about Dark Lords. So we'll let Andre take this one before you go off on another little.
This is actually a really tough one, and there's two aspects to this for me. I think I like cards because of what they represent, and I also like cards because of just distinctly of the way that they look. So I'm going to give you an example. I love Unchained Abomination. Like, that's my favorite Link monster in the game. It's probably one of my favorite looking cards because it represents like just destruction, and like he looks fierce. There's some blue and purple tones. Like, I wouldn't want to see him on my worst day, let alone my best day. You know what I mean? So I like that because it represents he's just gonna pop everything on the field. But then
Yeah.
in terms of like card art, I like red's my favorite color, and I like Lavol's. Like I think it's is it the Fire Sprite? I think she looks so. The card's absolutely trash, but the art on it it blows my mind. So I don't know. For me, it's if anything that's got like a red in it that like represents some kind of like aura, I'm really drawn to, and I like to like have a little like hold it up to the light and kind of like smile at myself. Like, this is pretty.
I'm just gonna have a little spotlight so our viewers can see.
Yeah, I'm
what's
gonna take a
being
look
referred
actually.
to. So
I
I've
don't
just,
think I've ever.
yeah, I am.
Was it
streaming.
Lakeside Lady? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's Fire Sprite or Lakeside Lady, and I think it's I think it's a level 1 or a level 2 monster. And she's like just standing in this lake, and it's like secret rare, and the fire's behind her, and like there's all these mad like red tones to it. And it's,
Yeah,
This
it's
one,
just, like,
right?
burning.
I want to get some a better artwork without some dirty watermark in the middle. So
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That is the
Okay.
one.
And you're right. This is a
It is a
very
really
cool.
pretty card.
And I think this goes back again to what we were saying about the different kind of artists in Yu-Gi-Oh, because this looks so sick, but it doesn't look like this art style looks like nothing else in Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, this is actually
Definitely
really
so.
cool.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of almost like a Brothers Grimm sort of thing. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just
I
yeah.
love the look at that card. I think it's just wicked.
This is a very cool.
I
card.
really like just trees as a visual aesthetic, so seeing like them burning away in the background, it's nice. Orange in general is just such a nice color.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that's a mad choice, Andre, but I can back it. This is it's a yeah.
good
I
one.
will not disagree. Laval's are awesome. Like especially like the rockier textured ones. I don't know. They work with my brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've secretly got the deck. I don't plan to do anything with it, but it comes all in secret rare, and I just every now and again I'll just get it out and look at it and then put it away again.
Bro, there's
So-
pyro support coming soon. Trust.
I was
I'm
gonna say
search,
yeah.
I'm gonna search that card, and then just gonna go to the graveyard, and then my opponent's gonna be like, "Well, what else does it do?"
Well, let's read the effect. What does it do?
Let's see
let's
this.
look
If
at
it's
that.
in your graveyard and you have a bunch, banish this another one to pop a set card. This
Pop a
is
set card,
yeah. This is.
Yeah, respectfully.
I think it's just one of those It's one of those decks that has a lot of the setup, but none of the payoff.
Yeah.
Famous
Yeah.
examples: reptiles, insects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because you do get a lot of cards to the graveyard, but then you can't do anything with them,
Yeah.
and it's
But
you banish them
this
for
isn't-
like
This isn't a once per turn though, so
Oh
True.
yeah, I don't think any of them are once per turns because they were made a long time
Yeah,
ago.
This is.
I mean, if Dark Worlds are allowed to be non-once per turn, these things definitely are allowed to be non-once per turn. Trust
Yeah.
me. Trust me.
definitely.
As well. But while I'm quickly getting up Dark World, just in case there's a viewer who's never heard of Dark World, I don't know how they've done that. But Dan, what's yours?
So I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. One of my favorite aesthetic archetypes is Adamantipator. I think the whole art style is so clean. It's annoying because it kind of goes back to what Andre said, in the sense that like the cards that are like really bad actually have the best art. Like Leonite is like a really great looking synchro
I already
monster.
knew that was
Yeah,
what you were
yeah.
going for. I
Another
knew,
fire
yeah.
one. I love that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Leonite looks
Y'all are
even
gonna
in the
get
road.
me on a whole train on that one.
Like,
Hell yeah.
The field spell is dog water, but it's gorgeous.
It's so nice.
I'll be real. I didn't
Yeah.
even know they had a field spell. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
what's
Yeah.
what's it
Doesn't
called?
just
Signs,
stack to the top 5 or something?
Yeah,
something like that, and it gives them like a
gives them
little
an
attack.
boost in it. Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. Adamantipator Friends again.
oh,
Awful card,
Friends.
gorgeous looking.
Let's go to Friends and see
It's a
that.
shame that's the only direct support they've gotten was like friends.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
but it's just such
this
a nice
is-
looking card.
Yeah, yeah.
All the miners as well, like they look so great as secret rare. Like the Risens, I just think it's a great looking archetype.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really cool about Adamantipator that they did do well is the way it plays is so it's so well done in terms of like what you would expect like excavators to be doing. Like I love the whole fact of like you're literally digging for rocks in your deck. I think that was done so well in this deck. Like, yeah, very cool. Like I'd say, like Adamant's Pay, I don't have any personal interest in it, but I think it's very, very well designed from a thematic point of view, definitely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, I could literally talk for hours about decks that successfully pull off exactly that thing of matching what they are with what they do. Like, have you thought about how Eldritch is like the Golden Lord with like all these little guys in robes constantly bringing him treasure sacrifices? Every single one of his spell traps is like gold treasure, and every single one of Eldritch's effects gets rid of the spell traps. So like it is a literal sacrifice to summon the Golden Lord.
I didn't even think of that, you know. Oh my gosh, levels. It's like I hadn't even got there with Eldritch, but I'm realizing it now.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh so much. You have no idea. I could rant.
This is that's sick. Another archetype that I really like the art style of, and people are gonna call me basic, but I don't care. I think the Invoked artwork has like some of the, and like in fairness, not just Invoked, like the whole sort of spellbook like lore. I think that entire sort of multiverse, if you will, like has some very cool looking cards. Prophecy. That's the one.
Yeah,
Fun fact, I've got Invocation as my YouTube banner just because I really like to look at that card as well. Yeah.
I think it's great.
Like the new Invocation too. Like the old one was awesome.
The new one's awesome.
I was about to ask the All Art Invocation. If anyone hasn't seen that, this thing looks
crazy.
Otherworldly.
Like this is how it should be. Like
yeah,
definitely did.
I also really like the new Mechaba. It's so nice.
Yeah, it looks like an angel, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's without the chariot.
Yeah,
because I didn't know like what the hell was going on in the original Mechaba. I thought it was some sort of weird like dragon beast thing, but the new art's really good.
Very, very good.
Yeah, I'm very basic. I'm not gonna lie when it comes to stuff like this. Like, just give me something that vaguely reminds me of mythology or like Minecraft and. I'm one in it.
I will say, guys, look, I know I've mentioned them already, but I feel like obviously Dark Lords, but I feel like I actually genuinely have to say Rescue Ace as well. Like, just in terms of thematic, I think Rescue Ace is so cool. And I think one of the things that I really like about Rescue Ace is the fact that we haven't had like a mundane archetype like that in a while. Like, it's just firefighters and fire engines, but I really like how they've gone about that. Actually, it's like, you have a bunch of firemen, and then you have a bunch of fire engines, and you have a fire hydrant, and that's the archetype. They're just trying to put out fires. I think it's really, really cool. So yeah, I think Rescue Ace does that job really well in terms of thematic.
So
it's kind of like,
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, Rescue Ace reminds me of like what S4 should have been in terms of both playstyle and artwork.
Yeah, we don't talk about S4 State.
Yeah, sorry, Jamie, go on.
Well, I was just gonna like go on with the Rescue Ace thing because something I particularly like about that deck, as you saw earlier, I got really excited.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I really, really like this deck is every single card in it is like incredibly dynamic. Like, sure, there's the spell traps that just say a word on them, which is like fine, but that's like the whole training seminar thing where it's just like, all right, we're at this stage, we're doing this. But every single monster, they made a fire truck look dynamic. Let's think about that for a second, folks. Like,
that is well.
It's so good. It's so good. Like, the new spell, the new monster, every single thing they have. It's like the background adding more motion even to the still things like Hydrant and the jet. I forget the name of the jet off the top of my head. You'll have to forgive me. But yeah, they're just
really
they
cool.
have a really good dynamic feeling to them, even 100%. When they're still.
100%. I think it's cool as well because it's not a. Again, it's going back to the mundane thing I was saying before. It's not like they didn't have to do something magical to do this. They just took something that's kind of interesting in the real world, and then they just kind of added a bit of an extra spin on it. So this is a really, really awesome archetype, and it's fire. I like as well that they could have very easily made this dark, light warriors and dragons and called it a day, but they didn't. They added a bunch of different types and stuff, which I also think is very cool.
Definitely. Definitely. I do think, in terms of like new archetypes, I feel like the new deck building sets are really shining in terms of like how they're actually like designing the art for the archetypes. Is it just me that feels like they're putting more effort into those archetypes,
Yeah.
at least thematically?
What's the newest one called? Because I
VS
100% agree.
Vanquish Soul looks like
Yeah.
I think it looks really cool, and going back to just like how you're saying like decks play to what they're like designed by, like as a fighting game, like I'm a big fighting game fan. I play a lot of like PlayStation, Xbox, that kind of thing, and this just speaks to me, especially like is it Caesar is the dragon one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that the big one there. Like I don't know. It really again, it's the reds as well. Like he's got red in his background.
Cool.
I'm just drawn to it, but I just feel like he's powering up and he's about to like do something ominous. And I just
To do that special move and
I'm just like,
Let's go
this
for the
is cool.
fatality.
Yeah, this is like sick. He's about to just end the game. Like, yeah,
100% agree.
I have heard a lot of people like I know this archetype is very new, but I've heard a lot of people talk about this. They look at this as being potentially one of their favorite archetypes and something that they want to stick with for a while. And I think thematically, like Jamie was saying, I love the fact that like it engineers combos in a different way, and which is akin to like I guess button mashing combos, like revealing an earth, like to get like the up B move or whatever.
Yeah. Very cool archetype. Vanquish in terms of playing it, I can't lie, I'm not a fan. In terms of artwork and thematic, I am a big fan. I think it's quite cool. I like the link as well. I like the link as like that's where you're fighting, but nothing's really happening. The link doesn't do it itself. It's just like a way of facilitating everything else that happened. Like, very cool. But
so,
guys,
Fabz, I was going to say, talk to us about Dark Lords because I know it's your favorite.
Look, guys, look. Okay. I mean, I similar to you, Jamie. There was a point where when I first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, actually Dark Worlds was my first deck, but when I first got back into Yu-Gi-Oh, Dark Lords is what I went into, and same as you, I got really into Dark Lords. So I'm a religious person naturally, so I've always been really into Judeo-Christian mythology. And so that was the first thing that attracted me because I just thought it was really cool. But then when you look at the artwork on some of these cards and how they're portrayed, I think absolutely insane. Like, so already we start. Like, I like the fact they're linked to Solemn as well. I think that's really cool that there's a whole story going on. Morningstar looks epic. We still haven't got whatever the heck that is like Morningstar before they decided to be Morningstar. All of the different Dark Lords look really cool. I think for me personally, my favorite has always been Tez. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but yeah, Tez just looks otherworldly and crazy. Like, literally looks like some Aztec demon. Like, it's so sick. I think that's really cool. Look, that's better than anything I've ever tried. So I'm gonna give it to you. I'll give it to you. But yeah,
I haven't read that one in a fat minute. So
I mean, and it goes back to kind of similar to that Adamantifator thing, where it's like I would force this card into my deck, even though I knew. I mean, Dark Lords were never amazing, but this is definitely one of the worst ones. But I would still play it just because I want to play this card in my deck because it looks so cool. Really
funny.
awesome.
Yeah, if I ever played Dark Lords, I would force Dark Lord Desires into the deck because that was my boss monster specifically when I had like my pile of random stuff as a kid.
Yeah, like the old ones have really cool artworks as well. Like Asmo and Desire both look really interesting, Superbia. And then the other thing I like as well is that, again, you have the Forbidden card. So when Droplets came out, I was actually really upset that this ended up being a generic card because I wanted just Dark Lords to be able to use it because, again, it looks so cool. And there's so much lore in Dark Lords and like that whole kind of Dark Lords and Solemn and the Forbidden cards. Yeah, Dark Lords are amazing. They look
all the
so
Sanctuary
good.
in the Skies as well, right?
Yeah, there's so much lore. Like, Dark Lords I think is a very, very good looking archetype. Very, very interesting. They're not meta. I forgive you, Konami. Not everything can be meta. But...
Post Bestials, the deck's in a rough spot. I will say.
I'll be real with you, bro. They've been not meta since like.
Since they were made.
Yeah, I really can't blame Bestials.
Well, I just say that because you'll have to forgive me. I'm just like going over here and being like, I'll just vocals with insert the most random thing you've ever heard today. So the Dark Lords being as competent as they are with their effects being as good as they are makes me think that they're pretty solid in a format that isn't exactly Macrocosmos plus Bestials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I would
Okay.
say, so funnily enough, this was actually the deck I was taking to tournaments in TOS format. So in TOS
Yes, I
format, I did
remember
manage to top with Dark Lords once. That's like my claim to fame with a rogue deck. So yeah, I would
enough.
agree. Like yeah, they did put it work back then. Now I've made some builds, but I'd say it's been a long time since I've seriously tried to work with Dark Lords. But what I was
I hear
Needing to look at
Now,
them.
go on.
well, you know what? I'll let you land one more topic, Dan, before we go on to
No,
our
I was just
final
gonna make a
topic.
joke in it. I hear that the Dark Lord Discord is still waiting for your guide video. Like, been
Do
waiting
you know
for
what? It's
since
funny, yeah.
last year.
Yeah, like
Oh,
so, like I'm the head moderator. Well, I'm not really anymore. Like of the Dark Lord Discord, and yeah, like when I joined, I was in it. I was debating with guys every day. Like this is the best way to play the deck, and this is the ratio, and this is what. I don't talk in that shit anymore. Like I've had one or two people at me and be like, "Fabz, what do you think?" It's like I don't care. Like it doesn't matter what you do. The deck shit. Like it's like I genuinely have no interest in playing the deck. Like yeah.
this conversation is going to make me think about it. Also, before we jump subjects, I would like to get in one last thing because as much as I love Dark Worlds, they're really cool. There is one deck that I really love the visual aesthetic of
Ooh, let's get
that
out of it.
gets really overlooked all the time because the only card you ever see from it is Kokimaru Guardian. Kokimaru is actually really cool, and it
get that.
Yeah.
legitimately is. Maximus, Urnite, the Skeleton Warrior, like
Yeah.
Drago.
I love how
I quite like
there's
Overload.
there's one for each type. Is there? Am I getting that mixed up?
I wish there was one for each type, but they are multi-typed, yes.
Okay,
like-
okay.
What's
Yeah,
interesting is it almost seems like a bunch of different artists.
Yeah, it does
Right.
actually.
So, the reason I like this deck so much is because it does a really good job of visually storytelling us, like, their attempt to create the ultimate creature. Like, as we're watching them use the Iron Core, which we know it's actually Mad Scientist and... not Mad Scientist. What's the guy, pay 1,000 summon a fusion monster?
Magical.
Oh.
Scientist.
Magical scientist.
Magical
yeah,
scientist,
that's
yes, thank you. It's magical scientists in a cohort that are actively like doing these experiments, and we see like, oh, they have just a robot because they think a robot's gonna work. They have an undead soldier because he was good at fighting at one point. They just have a big insect because we got to try on insects. They have like people that can control elements. They have machines. They have like just earthly elements that they seem to hyperfixate on. They have the corpse of a dragon. They have a lab-grown dragon. They have Maximus, which is like a fusion of all of their concepts of a powerful being and a metal creature. Like it, they have a lot of stuff going for them, especially in like the spell trap department, like just visual style wise. It's just a shame that doesn't do anything outside of Adamantipator exactly, and Guardian, one of their weirdest looking cards, is the only one you see anymore. I would die for Sandman.
Like that is, I had no idea that there was so much to this archetype as well. And similarly, yeah, the most I knew about it was Guardian and Supplier, but
Exactly.
yeah,
Fabz,
wow.
Pull up that Iron Core specimen lab card because according to that, this is where the lore comes in.
Okay, yeah, you can even see, yeah, wow,
Oh,
That's
crazy.
yeah. This is sick. This is sick.
really cool.
It's a really interesting deck that I've been sitting on all the support on, just like waiting for them to release something that isn't exactly rock support. Like they're like, oh yeah, Supplier, that's rock support, not really Kokimaru support, and I'm just like, okay, cool.
Oh, what a shock. Alright, okay, look, guys, we've gone way past the end of the show, but I'm gonna allow one more topic just because
Oh no.
I'm so determined. I have a question I want to ask, but it's inappropriate, so I'll save it for the post show. But
Sure.
before that, Dan, you said a very, very interesting "Am I the Arsehole?" To us this week, and I think that should be the one that we do. What do you think? What do you think?
Which one? I've sent you a couple. I'm
what-
hoping it's.
I'm
hoping
pretty-
it's in the group chat
Yeah.
video because the video.
Not. Oh wait, you know what? To be fair, I still haven't watched the video. So
Oh, okay.
it's not
we'll
the
leave
video.
that for the post show. We'll
Yeah,
get
we'll
a
do it
live
for the post show.
reaction.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Dan, do you want to read this or do you want me to read it?
Pull it up, please, bro, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Okay, no worries.
So, Jamie, how familiar are you with the concept of the "Am I the Arsehole" subreddit?
I know what it is. I do not frequent Reddit. I post my art there every now and then, and I always regret it. Always regret
Yeah,
it.
that's fair. That's fair. I think I don't think a lot of people post to Reddit anymore. From what I've heard, that website's going down the shitter. But
Yeah.
that's a whole different conversation.
You know what? The post show, guys. If you don't watch the post show, you're slipping up because we're gonna go in. There's so many things that we got to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Coming soon to a streaming service near you. Shout out to Top Deck TJ for
he's the plug. He's the plug. Right.
But yeah, let's. This is a wordy one, Fabs. So let's.
Yeah. You know what I'll do? Let me.
Drum,
Oh, do you want to read it?
No. Go. You go through. Go through.
Okay, I'm gonna paraphrase it so that just make it quick. So, my fiance and I met. Oh wait. So the title is: Am I the asshole for making guests participate in our puppet themed wedding? So,
This one.
my
Look, if we have
fiance.
rank up magic.
Yeah. Well, so my fiance and I met at college. We were in our school's performing arts program, and we met in a puppetry class. In the class, we designed our own puppets, and it's what we used initially to talk to each other, and that's how we fell in love in class. And we've also considered the puppets to be in love as well. Now, after graduating, we still use them at home, and we use them at our local theatre where we do puppet shows. While planning our wedding, we realised that we wanted our puppets, Hatboy and Daisy, to be part of the ceremony. They've been part of us since the beginning, and it just felt right. We also invited our entire troupe of puppeteers from the theatre and got the idea that we should have our wedding completely officiated by puppets, and that our wedding party should be made up of puppets and our closest puppeteer friends. We figure it will make for incredible pictures. Here's where we aren't sure if we are the assholes or not. We're insisting that all of our guests also participate and use puppets. In lieu of gifts, we've asked everyone to purchase high-quality puppets to use during the wedding. We took the guesswork out of it and directed them to several vendors, some of who offer really cool options. Everyone could realistically expect to spend $150 to $500, depending on what sort of details and whatnot they wanted. We also want everyone to wear their puppets during the entire wedding and reception. All the puppets we're suggesting can be mounted on and controlled with one hand. The puppets are meant to be guests at the wedding. Let's just say there's a lot of people not happy. Both of our parents, my wife's sister, and family members on both sides have complained that this is completely unreasonable. They're concerned about how they're going to eat, how they're going to drink, all of this stuff. We don't expect people to have their puppet on their hand while they go to the bathroom, but everywhere else we'd really like to insist on it. We also made sure that all of our hors d'oeuvres are all finger foods. There'll be plenty of cocktail tables so people can put down their drinks. We even made sure that all of the food for the dinner itself is portioned so it can be eaten in bite sizes with just a fork without having to use a knife. We think this would make for a special day. We only get to do it once, and we think it'll be the event that all of our guests remember for a lifetime. We have a hard time believing that once there, they wouldn't have a blast. So Reddit, are we the arsehole for making what we think is a silly but harmless and reasonable request for our one special day? Thanks for reading.
I have strong opinions immediately.
Go forth, Jamie,
Yeah.
go forth.
Go on, let
These
us know.
people are adorable. They want to have a puppet wedding. Why would you not entertain that? That is like one of the few things ever that it's like, oh, I am going to have a super memorable experience. You're invited to that wedding. You want to complain about it? Don't go. Don't tell them to change their wedding. They're about to get married. Fuck off.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry if cursing isn't okay. I apologize.
Completely fine,
for
completely fine.
No, go on.
It's just like, that's adorable. Why would you ever say no to that? You know? Like, it's...
Yeah.
I think my issue with it isn't, it's your way to do whatever you want with it. My issue is they're asking their guests to pay up to $500 for these puppets. That's a bit mad.
I mean,
Up to.
Okay, so you're going to a family wedding. You get them something for their wedding. What are you usually expecting to get? Just out of legitimate curiosity, like, what are you going to get them for their wedding?
You get them gifts. Or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's
a gift. I'll just to kind of co-sign what Jamie's about to say. A gift, and they actually said in lieu of gifts. So they don't want gifts. They're saying spend if you buy a puppet, it's between $150 to $500, which I would say is, for someone that I'm close to, that's a reasonable wedding gift in my opinion. But yeah, that's just to answer that question in terms of what they've actually asked for.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very, very. I can't tell. I'm in two minds. I'm very much in two minds about this. I really don't know.
I feel like Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go on.
Okay.
I feel like with them.
Oh, sorry, Jamie. Jamie. Sorry, you go first. You go first, and I'll tee it off.
Sorry, I thought the talking stick was handed to me. I apologize. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes.
All good.
I was just saying, like, if they're accommodating for it, they're making it so it's easy to eat despite the apparatus you have attached to you and all that. It's like, again, you cannot go. You can, like, it can be a limited thing to those that enjoy it. Like, a significant amount of those people are already puppeteers, so they're gonna go and they're gonna enjoy it. If you don't want to participate in that, that's fine. I don't know the individual, like, relationships with these people, but in my mind, it's like, you're going to a wedding, you're gonna get dressed up in something that's gonna be uncomfortable, and you're gonna sit around for 5 hours eating food. Or you can put on a puppet, do something you've never done before, or for the puppeteers, do something you're used to and have like a really unique experience. And for me, it's like, I can't see a reason to not do that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Fabz, you were about to speak.
I'm in total agree. My wedding process was not an easy one. It was a very difficult process, and it's heavily, like, I have such a strong opinion on how weddings should be. My opinion is quite simple. It's your wedding. Do whatever the F you want to do.
Yeah.
They are not the assholes at all for asking. However, you don't have to go. And they would be the assholes if they got upset at you for not going. Like, for example, let me be real. Even if my best mate asked me to come to this, I don't like weddings in the first place. I'm not a fan of weddings. I find them boring and long and all of it. If my best friend is doing this and he asks me, I'll say, I'm not coming. I'm just not coming. And no offense, but you can't be upset that I'm not coming. I don't want to be involved. As soon as you said puppets, it's like, what are you even saying? What? No, I'm not coming. But feel free. I'll say, more grace. I'll send you 150. You can even buy my puppet and put it there. Feel free. I'm not gonna be there. I'm sorry. I have much better things to do in my life than participate in your wedding puppet show nonsense. But it's your money, especially as you're gonna drop 5, 10, 15 bags on a wedding. Who am I to tell you what to do with your wedding? Oh, feel free.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, the only issue is if you're not that way inclined and you've been asked to do it, it's keeping up the enthusiasm to be a puppeteer for the whole wedding. Like, for me, initially I'd be like, oh, this is pretty cool. I've never done something like this. But then when it's like
after
3
hour 3
hours into the wedding and I'm still got the puppet on my hand, I'm gonna be like, oh, come on, guys. let's have a break. Like, you got what I mean? And I think for these puppeteer friends, it's not a problem. But for the average person who doesn't do that, who is not inclined to be a puppeteer, they're gonna find it hard.
Even 3 hours. Look, after 15 minutes, like, I've got a puppet on my hand. Like,
that's what I'm saying. And if you've had a drink as well, like, the truth hurts, innit? And you're gonna see puppets flying across the room, like.
Even when they said that they made sure the food was blah blah for the puppet, I was like, look, everything that you're saying is stupid, but it's your money for free. I just will not be there.
Yeah.
I was so shocked with we made sure our orders of finger foods. Like, what? So I can't take it off for the meeting. Like,
you know what? To be fair, like Fabz, I'm married as well, and planning a wedding is insane, and you want it to just be your day in it. So if that is what you want to do, then more power. But I think it's wild. I think it's a wild choice of wedding, but 100%. It's your wedding.
I think it's wild. I think it's a waste of money, terrible time, all these things. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So in lieu of this, I don't think they're the arseholes, but I think they're. I can't co-sign personally, but do you?
I'll still send you a gift. I'll send you a lovely gift. You know.
Yeah. Just
I'm glad. I'm glad we seem to agree that no one is an asshole here, at the very least.
Yeah, I think there's one key thing I think that we always need to remember when we look at these is there's a difference between being an asshole and just being a bit eccentric.
Yeah, definitely.
But
you're an adult. You work. No one can tell you what to do as you're an adult, and you work for 40 hours a week, and this is what you decided to spend £10,000 on. I mean, you're a mug, but feel free. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, it's your money. Who am I to tell you what? Because you could also turn around and look at me, and as I've spent hundreds of pounds on cardboard with pictures on them, and say that I'm a mug. So,
you know what? That's facts.
Do you get it? It's really just a. If I was a puppeteer, I probably wouldn't think it's a silly idea. But then I'm not a puppeteer, So again, it's like, yeah, feel free, do what you want, and it's no one's business. But just don't get upset when people say they don't want to come. Cause
I think that's a really good mantra to actually just end the show with there, Fab. Some more words.
Yeah, it's a good point. So guys, look, we're gonna rock into the post show, but Jamie, you've been such an awesome guest. Thank you for coming on. Before we sign off, do you have any shout outs or anything that you have?
Do I? I don't necessarily think so. I just think everyone I interact with is cool. So either I have way too many or I have none specifically. Thanks to my boyfriend for supporting me my entire art career. He's a great person. Thanks to whatever force has kept me on Earth all this time. Let's do the opposite of a shout out for the person running Florida right now, and we're good.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Guys, this is going to be an intense post show.
Yeah. Awesome press, the Floridians in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome press.
Right,
but yeah, thank you so much. If anyone is interested in Abyss, you can find them at Nebula _Neos on Twitter.
Naos. It's
Naos, yeah. Yeah,
Naos
don't listen
is
to me.
Safe space is what that word means, or a temple.
That's dope. That's hard as
I
fuck.
didn't know that.
So Nebula _Naos.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thank you. That was the Yu-Gi-Oh show. We'll talk to you soon. See you in the post show.